Okay, so this is showing you how to do task 4. Obviously it says that you need to make a report to start with for students who have paid a deposit of £10 or less. However, because you've done a few of these already, you probably know that you've got to make a query first. So to do that, make sure you've got your reports school trip database open, not just the one called school trip, otherwise you won't have the required fields. Go to create and then go to query design. Press add to add the school trip table and then close. You can make that a little bit bigger if you want to, just so you can see all your fields. And then what you're doing is, on the task sheet, you need to have a look for the one that tells you which fields to include. So it happens to be number 1, but it won't always be. So it says to put in ID, forename, surname, address, 1, 2, postcode, amount paid, outstanding balance with their labels in full. So what you've got to do on your database is include those fields. So it was ID, forename and surname, so this is just double clicking on each one to make these appear. Address line 1, address line 2, postcode, amount paid and outstanding balance. So we've put all those fields in. Okay, so we can highlight that one or tick it off on your sheets just to say that you've done it. It's not really very good highlighting. Let's try setting it as red. So, contains a new field called 6 monthly instalments, which will be calculated at runtime, which means you make it in the query, and it's going to calculate how much each student has to pay if they pay in equal amounts over the next 6 months, and there's a £10 charge for doing this. So we know their outstanding balance, so say that's £60. Then what we've got to do is find out how much that would be per month, so we divide it by 6 for each month, so that would obviously come to £10. Then you would add on an extra £10 as a fee for doing that. So in order to do that, in the database, in our next available column, so obviously we've got all our fields here, so then the field that we're going to create just gets written here as well. So you type in 6 monthly installments followed by a colon. That tells Access that this is going to be the name of the new field, and then what you do in square brackets to start with, you put in the name of the first field. Now we have to put it in square brackets with this one because the field has a space in between the words. If it was just outstanding balance or one word, you wouldn't need to put the square brackets in. Access would do it for you, but in this example we've got to put the square brackets in ourselves. Then what we want to do is divide that by 6, and we need to add 10 onto the end. Now just to be safe, I'm going to put this first bit in brackets so that it does this first, so that it's not adding 10 to 6. It's just good practice, we'll just put it into brackets. If you then press run, if we resize this column, you can see how much each person's got to pay. We'll change this to currency later on when we do the report. So if we right click back onto query 1 and go to design view, we're back in this view again. What we now need to do is just show people that have paid a deposit of less than or equal to £10. So for amount paid, we do less than equals 10. So if you remember that less than points to the left, it's not like in maths where the crocodile's mouth opens towards the biggest. It's difficult to do that when we haven't got something either side of the symbol. So we're going to do less than or equals to 10, press run, and that's now only showing people that have paid less than or equal to £10. What we have got is people that have paid nothing, which it's not very clear in the question. So we're going to leave those in, but if we didn't want those in there, we'd just have to also add in the field that says deposit paid and just put yes, so it's only people that have paid a deposit. But the question's not very clear on that, so we'll just leave it in. So we've now done everything that we need to do in the query, so we've now done this one as well, so we can highlight that as red. The questions are now starting to talk about how it's going to look, so we know now that we've got to start going on to actually making the report. So I'm going to firstly save this, right click and save. It's best to save it as what the heading for the report's going to be, which is on the task sheet on step number 8, it says that the heading needs to be payment concerns. So I'm going to save it as payment concerns. What I'm then going to do is go to create and go to report wizard, make sure in this drop down box you have the payment concerns selected. If you don't, then you're going to end up losing all your marks that you've just done. So put the double arrow to include all the fields and press next. It's never asked it to be grouped previously, so press next. In here it says how do you want your report sorting, and step number 5 says that it sorts the data into descending order by the field 6 monthly instalments. Okay, so it needs to be in descending order, so you just press the button and press next. It says that it needs to be landscape and it fits to a page, so this is ticked, so we press next. The heading's already correct, so we just press finish. That will bring us up a report. It's not worth anything yet because we haven't put names on it, and also we've not got all the fields being displayed correctly. So if you right click on the tab and go to layout view, now previously you may have used design view for this, but we find that layout view is a little bit better. And what we need to do is we need to make some space basically so that we can see everything. Now you can highlight more than one thing by using control. So I'm highlighting the one below and then the one above and just moving these across. The surname is quite big, so we can probably make a bit of space with that one. Move that across. So once you've organised all of your fields, you're basically trying to get it so that it all fits nicely on the page without anything being cut off. So we're almost there with it. Okay, so just scroll up and down, make sure nothing's cut off. This is, but we know that we're going to change that in a minute anyway, so that's not going to be a problem. So we now have it fitting on a single page wide and its landscape, and it's sorted into the correct order, so we've done those. The best thing to do then is to get your name on it, because without your name on it, it goes straight in the bin in the real exam. So we're going to jump straight onto number 9 and try and get your name on this. So in design view, you've got two footers. I'm just going to bring the report footer down because it's never actually shown. You've got the page footer and the report footer. Now your name must always go in the page footer. So in this design tab up here, you need to use a label. You can't use a text box because it doesn't work. Put a label in the page footer with your name. Now in this task it just says that it has your name candidate number on the left hand side in the footer. So we've got this thing in the left hand side and you can't write in that. So if we just move that out of the way, and we can put that right in the bottom left. We've now done that one, so at least we know that we're not going to get 0 for this task. It then says that we need to calculate the total outstanding balance for these students and place it at the bottom of the report with a label to the left of it which says total outstanding. So this time in the report footer, because we just want this once at the end of the report, what we need to do is we need to find out the total of all these outstanding balances. So to do that we need to use a text box, and in here we're just going to do equals sum like we would in Excel, and then in square brackets, which is also inside some round brackets, type in outstanding balance, close your square brackets and then your round brackets. And then in here it said it needed a label which said total outstanding. Now to move just one of these things on their own you have to use this little box here. So if we now right click and go to print preview, we can hopefully see that we've got a calculation at the bottom of the report. So it's on 2 pages, which is fine because it's 1 page wide, but you can see we've now got our total outstanding. I'm going to move it right slightly so it goes underneath this column here. So in design view, just going to bring this across so that it goes underneath. So we've now done this one, and we've also got the label to the left of it. So there's another calculation in this one that says calculate the total amount that will be collected if all students pay over 6 months, and place this at the bottom of the report with a label to the left of it which says total paid if monthly. So in another text box, I'm going to put it over here. Again, use the little boxes to move them individually. Again, we're going to do equals sum, open round brackets and open square brackets. And we're going to type in our new field, which is 6 monthly instalments. Close the square brackets and the round brackets. And we're going to have the label to the left of it, which says total if paid monthly. If we now run that, or view it in print preview, It's probably best to right click, because you can always right click. This menu might disappear and then you'll get confused. Now we've got an error message come up. It's because either I've spelt this wrong here or I've spelt it wrong up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste how I've spelt this one and put that down here. I've not put an S on the end. That was the problem. So I will have lost a mark for that, but we could change it quite easily. So we've now got the calculation working at the bottom of page 2. We just need to now make sure that everything is set as currency and that everything's visible and that we're happy with everything. So up here in the page header, so I don't lose a mark, I'm going to put an S on the end of that, so that it says 6 monthly instalments rather than 6 monthly instalment, and we're not going to lose any marks. So we've obviously got an issue with these here. If you right click and go to properties, you can change the format of those to currency, and we can also do the same on the calculations that we have at the bottom. So we can go to currency, and again with this one over here we can change that one to currency. So now if we view that in print preview, we're just going to check that we can see everything on all of the pages and that we're not cutting anything off, and that we've then met all the criteria. So we've now got our new calculation, we've got our heading at the top of the page, so we can do that, and then the last task is just to save it. So to save the report, right click and save, and we have now completed that report. So that's quite a difficult task, but actually the GCSE doesn't get any more difficult than this. This is about as difficult as it gets. So if you can do this, then you can pretty much do anything with this course.